flagship is supposed to bring you exciting product, trendy product, affordable product, and quality product. Now, when you look into our shop, you see some of our products that we are launching under the Miniso Marvel franchise. The objective is to give you about 2,000 different products in it that would meet your needs as a family. So we have things for parents, children, spouses, and partners.
And you heard Edinam Akpati, the general manager of Miniso Shops in Ghana, enter the Joy Business Report with me, Charles Aiche. Coming up next is the Executive Lounge. Do stay.
As we continue to fight COVID-19 together, EcoBank offers you several ways to stay home, stay safe, and take control of your finances. Use EcoBank Mobile whenever, wherever, with or without an EcoBank account to send money through SMS and email. Also buy airtime, pay bills, and much more from the comfort of your home. For high-value transactions, use our internet banking services. EcoBank QR code enables you to make cashless digital payments when paying for goods and services. Download the EcoBank Mobile today from the Google Play Store, App Store, or from our Facebook page. Additionally, dial the short code *770# from any phone and start transacting. EcoBank cares. Remember to observe social distancing, wash your hands frequently, and don't touch your face. For further assistance, kindly call EcoBank Contact Center on 3225 anytime, any day, toll free. Stay home, stay safe. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
We bring you joy on the airwaves. We bring you joy, lighting up your night, cool your day. So when you feel alone, all you gotta do is tune on the power on your radio. Tune in, get joy in stereo.
Right. And it's 15 minutes past 1, Tuesday afternoon. the 4th day of August, Founders Day edition of the Executive Lounge. Your thought leadership show that brings you nuggets of insights from the lives, work, and experiences of men and women who have braved the odds and scaled the daunting heights of either starting and managing their own businesses or institutions here at home and around the world. Those who have dared to dream and act on those dreams. You're welcome, one and all. And I'm going to take this opportunity to share with you a very important information. The Executive Lounge on Joy 99.7 FM on radio is taking a break after this episode. As of today, the Executive Lounge will not be on radio for the foreseeable future. If anything changes, we shall let you know. The most important thing is, let's remember, change is the constant. And with that, I'm going to jump straight into the conversation. And I will say all the thank yous towards the end of the show for all those who have graced the show and shared their insights, and those of you who have been constantly sending us messages and sharing your insights and thoughts on the conversations we've had over the more than 2 years that the show has been on your radio at 1:15 to 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoons. So, my guest is a chartered accountant. He's also a development practitioner. He's worked with the Crown agents. He's worked across Europe, across Africa, consulted in the Caribbean with governments. And in terms of knowing a thing or two, if not more, about what it takes to run a successful government, he has practice in that space. And so he has decided that he's going to put his name in the hat to add his contribution to the development of our motherland, Ghana. And as the founders have started, many will come to continue that journey. My guest today is the independent presidential candidate heading into this year's election, Mr. Marek Kofi Gan. Welcome to the Executive Lounge.
Nhyira, thank you for having me here. And quite a surprise that this is the last. It almost seems like I'm here to say farewell rather than have another ball with you. But yeah, it's a shame this is coming to an end. But hopefully greener pastures.
Well, and, all's well that ends well.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
And
thank you for having me.
Well, it's nice to have you. This is, I think you actually have done something no one else has.
You've times
been
in a row.
on the show 3 times.
And
yes.
That's right.
But today I really would like to get your thoughts on, celebrating Founders Day, and we're genuinely proud of the fact that we're Ghanaians. In fact, we didn't have a choice in that. We were all born here. But as the architect, the great architect knows more than we do and knows the end from the beginning, we were placed here for a purpose. And so we celebrate that cord that binds us as Ghanaians. What does Founders Day mean to you? What's the essence to Marek Kofi Gan?
Wow, that's you just asked me to be controversial, but Founders Day. So I'll tell you what Founders Day means to me.
Okay.
And then what it is currently.
Okay.
Founders Day to me means that somebody has built the foundation with blood, sweat, and tears. Founders Day means to me that I have a duty, just like they didn't know me, but they had a duty to build that foundation. I have a duty to build upon that foundation.
Wow.
Founders Day means to me that if I fail to build upon that foundation, I have just ridiculed both my term as a citizen of this country and the term of those who build that foundation. Say it as this, Nhyira. It's almost like, you get to a place where somebody has just built a foundation of a house and left it. if that house doesn't get built upon, even the foundation becomes minimized in value. It loses its value. If it stays there for long, nothing has happened. It means it loses its value.
That's right.
The only way that foundation will gain value is if somebody builds on top of it and somebody adds to it and builds. Then you find a house. Then suddenly the nasty-looking foundation or something that didn't look valuable becomes valuable. That is what the Founders Day means to me. That some group of men, very respectable men, our own citizens extraordinaire,
and women,
forgive me, pour their blood and sweat and tears out to build a foundation, and that foundation was the freedom they gained for us. For us, that should be the starting point. The generations that have come beyond that each had an opportunity to also be a founder of something on top of that original foundation. Whether we have done that or not is the big question.
So if I get you right, Founders Day should not be about an event in the past, but that event must remind us of our continuous responsibility.
Process, yes.
To build onto what was started.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what Founders Day means
to me.
To you. What does it mean to you now? Because you said you're giving me two answers to this. Okay.
Nhyira, I'm going to be blunt, honest about this. I'm sorry that I've got to do this on the last show you had.
Oh, well, we might as well go out with a bang.
Great.
No, but seriously, what does it mean? What's your perspective?
Founders Day, we've let me choose my words. We've destroyed what they built.
Wow.
We've totally desecrated what they built on two levels. These days we're not even building with blood, sweat and tears. That's one.
Okay.
And secondly, everything they built that we should have even continued building on, we've totally desecrated. We've messed it up. So we have undone what the founders found. We have unfounded what the founders found.
Wow.
They founded freedom for us. The essence of that freedom is that we go on and make Ghana great and strong. We're not even great, we are not even strong.
Now, these are some very, very strong words.
They have to be.
And why do you come to this conclusion? How have you arrived?
Have you got time? Because we can do this all day long.
Okay.
I mean,
so let's make this a heavyweight bout.
Okay.
And just drop the hard
you asked me why I have come. I'm an accountant, you know that, and so I love to be factual about things. I'll give you some figures, okay, and then I'll give you the real life things. Okay. Now, if you looked at pictures of Ghana back in the 50s and 60s, you probably think it was a different Ghana to today.
Well, a lot has changed.
Right, a lot has changed. If you looked in Accra's photos, it was neat, it was clean, it was tidy.
Yeah.
Today we have filth all over the place. Okay. In 1960, our life expectancy was about 45 years. So averagely, we're all living 45 years old, plus or minus.
Okay.
Rwanda's was 42. And I'm using Rwanda because we've been told don't use Rwanda. So I'm intentionally using Rwanda.
Okay.
Today our life expectancy is 64 years old. Rwanda's life expectancy is 69.
Okay, so
they live longer than we do now.
They in what, 4.5 or 5 decades they've gone ahead of us.
And they've been through a genocide and back.
Okay, which is okay. So they managed to do all of that.
All right.
3 steps back.
Education. In 1969, we were spending about the budget was about 28%. We were spending towards education. Today, we're spending roughly about 18-20%.
Wow.
Agriculture. We were spending, or the GDP that was being contributed to by Agric in 1960 was about 41%. Today, Agric is only contributing about 20.1%.
Okay.
Now, you tell me if we're going forward or backward. I haven't finished, though.
Please.
My dad went to school in the 60s, And he tells me at KNUST they had buffet and for breakfast, buffet for lunch, buffet for dinner. Even those studying science were actually paid to study science. Those that qualified quickly were giving internships even before they came out. They were sleeping one to a room. Today, students do not even have a spot on campus. Are we going forward or coming backward? That's not what the founders founded. We've literally just unfounded everything. So, you know, when people say, oh, but, you know, we've done well, we used to be the black star of Africa. Now people, you know, people used to look up to us in Nhyira. Now we actually look up to people. And for me, that is an insult to everything we stand for. So, those harsh words needed to be harsh, because that is the reality. You know, when we were kids, we used to play a game. When I grew up in the 70s, we used to play a game. When you see an obituary on the wall, you guess how old the person is. And more often than not, you'll be right to guess anything above 80 years old. Today, people are dying at, 25 years dead, 40 years dead, 50 years dead.
So we're losing people in their prime.
In their very prime. And so we're losing institutional knowledge, we're losing the ability for them to roll what they've learned over to the next generation. We're losing it all. So nobody can tell me, we are continuing to build on what the founders founded. We have unfounded what they found.
Now, I'm going to dig a little deeper into this, but, the numbers that you're giving, quite often, it's argued that numbers might look absolute, but there are other factors that will contribute to maybe 20% of agricultural contribution, agrics contribution to GDP today, as compared to 41% in the 60s. It's just a sign of the times, and that economies are not necessarily driven by agric alone, because there are countries that don't. Japan is an example, but they have a GDP. They're one of the top 3 economies, if not top 4, globally. And so you cannot absolutely say it is agric, which we depend on it largely, but there are other factors, and so this might not be a true reflection.
What is a true reflection, Israel? The reality is that if you talk about having competitive advantages, we have a huge competitive advantage in agriculture. So why shouldn't it be the one driving us? All the other sectors are very minimal in the kind of employment they generate. Our biggest generation of employment as a sector is agric. So why is it not the one leading the charge? Every country, and I'll dare any economist to come and point that out, every country, as much as possible, tries to play to their strength. It's the most sensible thing any good country would do. So if this is our strength and we're not playing to it, what are we playing to? And every year we cry about unemployment, so why isn't the biggest sector that employs the most people leading the charge?
Great point. It's 30 minutes past 1. This is the Executive Lounge. Let me remind you, this is the last episode of this show on Joy 99.7 FM, and we'll be bringing you other things in its place. Now, the interesting perspective, what you've said is that we have unfounded. And if you just tuned in, my guest is Mr. Mary Kofigan. He's the independent presidential candidate into the 2020 elections, and then we're getting his perspective on the essence of Founders Day, which is what we're celebrating today. And in essence, he's giving us some figures. Says we spent 28% of our national budget on education in the 60s. Today we're spending 18%. Agriculture used to contribute up to 41% in the 60s. Today is contributing 20% to GDP. And he sums all of these changes up with the phrase that we have undone or unfounded what the founders found. Let me get your thoughts on what has accounted for this change. How have we misaligned to what the founders had in mind? The vision that started it all.
Leadership. One word.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
leadership at every level, Nhyira. Leadership at home, leadership in the church, leadership in governance, leadership everywhere has accounted for this.
Wow. John C. Maxwell, the world famous
life coach.
Yeah, life coach. And I'll try and quote him. I think that leadership is cause, everything else is
everything
effect.
is effect.
Okay. Now, let's take the various facets of our society that you think that we haven't shown leadership. Let's start at home.
Let's start at home. Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things we teach our children at home, and I'm not going to say this is father's leadership or mother's leadership. It's leadership at home. We teach our children you don't talk back at elder people, older people. You don't question older people. When they talk, you don't talk back. When you see something wrong an elderly person has done, you don't correct them. You know what it does? Over the years, it's bred a country where we fear to ask for accountability. So if you see somebody older than you doing something, you know it's wrong. You know also that you've been brought up to understand you cannot question them. In fact, those who do wrong own that agenda, and they will tell you, do you know how old I am? Do you know I am your senior? Do you know how experienced I am? So right from the home, we are teaching a generation, or we've taught a generation over the years that say you cannot question leadership, you cannot ask for accountability. And there are several layers of this, but that's one.
Okay.
Go to the church. We teach our people faith means pray to God, fold your arms, and watch God do his magic. I am a Christian, and so this is not about bashing Christianity or anything. But when you teach people that, you've stopped teaching them what God actually means. Because God in the beginning created. That is the essence of God. He is always creating. And if we're not teaching our people that the essence of being a Christian is to create at all times, then we are not in ourselves Christian. We are not in ourselves teaching Christianity. As a nation, we have to be asking ourselves, what have we been creating? If we're not creating anything, then we should stop calling ourselves a Christian nation. Now you move on to governance, and that's where it all culminates, because you talk about the founding fathers. They want independence for all of Ghana, not some of Ghana, not for themselves, not for their families. In that era, we could gladly say the government of the people, for the people, by the people. These days, it's a government by the people, but a government for the parties and a government of the parties.
Wow. So from a government of the people, by the people, for the people, we have transitioned to a government
by the people.
By the people. So the people essentially elect the party into government,
and then they become a government for their party.
Please break this down.
Sure, what do you want me to break down? I mean, it's obvious. We can all see it. Governments have come and gone in this country. Even the current government, there's already a list flying about as to how many people related to the president are in office. That is an obvious one. We've seen that.
But is there anything wrong with? I mean, if I'm looking for a chartered accountant,
and you find two,
and I have two people,
and one is family,
and one is you, who I know, and I don't know the other person. What stops me from giving the job?
Give the job to the best man who has the best qualification and who has proven that he can do the job. Let me give you an example. I like giving this example. I was in the UK when the UK had to appoint a new governor of the Bank of England.
That's right.
They chose a Canadian.
Went across the water.
They looked around the world. In fact, there were two people they had on the list. One was Tijani, who was at the time the head of the Prudential Bank. Now, Tijani used to be an Ivorian. I think he's converted his citizenship now.
Okay.
But he used to be an Ivorian. They didn't look at race. They didn't look at color. They just wanted the best man fit for the job.
And this was at the time that we were the global financial crisis was ending.
Exactly. They saw how Tijani turned around Prudential Bank. They saw how Kani was helping the Canadian government. And they decided, you know what, if these are the two best guys, let's go after them. And they went after them. It was only 2 years ago that Mr. Kani decided to turn around and become a British. So the question you asked me, Nhyira, yes, let's choose the best man fit for the job, not because he's your friend. Yes, because he's your friend, you know, let him go through the grill, you know, let him go through the meal. If he turns out the best possible person, let him do the job. But let's not run this country as though we're running a party. And so the people who make the most noise during campaign, or the people who give the most money during campaign, end up taking on positions. You're looking at me interesting.
No, I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking of some examples. JFK had family in government. Trump has family in government. Well, I don't remember Barack having family in government, but I mean, it's not new.
It's not new.
Economies that have gone ahead of us.
It's not new. We're not saying it's new.
Right.
But we're saying that even if it's your relative, let him be the best out of the best. That's all we're saying. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Ghanaians, right? So let's choose the best out of the best. If the best out of the best happens to be my brother, why not? He's the best for this country, so let him get the job done.
Wow. So leadership is the big deal
at every level.
So you've talked about leadership in governance, leadership at home, leadership in the church. Let's talk about leadership from the various experiences you've had in your working life. Of course, an African man, most of your work was done across Europe and around the world. How was your growth over the period? Was it ever counted against you because you're from Africa? Did that play a part in maybe a glass ceiling just being placed
ahead of me? Well, I mean, those are individual personal prejudices. I don't believe it has counted against me in the places I have worked. When I worked at the Commonwealth of Nations Secretariat, you know, my boss was actually the head of the financial director in quite a huge organization, a diplomatic organization like that. Guess what? Was a Kenyan woman. And I served under her, served under a couple of Caucasian wonderful persons, British, typical British people. But all that while, I think what they were always looking out for was, can you get the job done? It was never about, are you from Ghana or you're black, or it was always about, can you get the job done? When I moved to Crown Agents in the latter part of my career, for example, then again, it was about, you know, who can get out there and get the job done, because a lot of the work we're doing was in all the conflict areas in Africa. Well, at least that was my unit. And so it wasn't about, you know, do we know this guy, is he more British than us or whatnot. It was always about who can get the job done. And something I'm really proud of, because I work with some really extraordinary people I learned a lot from. Some of them were Ghanaians. And this is the interesting thing for me. There's a gentleman there, I met two of them actually. One of them who actually was part of developing one of the softwares that our tax authorities actually use now. Surprise, surprise. And so it was fascinating that these were people who were held like pieces of eggs. They were treasured like that. You know, and so you ask yourself, if another government would look at our fellow Ghanaians and simply because of what they can deliver, they are treated like eggs, you know, never allowed to fall to the ground because they value their input in everything they get done, then why don't we? So for me, the experience has largely been, one of merit. I think, you asked another side of that question, which is that yes, I've come across individuals who have their own prejudices, but the beautiful thing is that the systems do not allow your personal prejudices to run over what is best for the institution. And that for me is an area that I feel we have a gap in, because the people who get appointed become the institutions.
This is a very interesting perspective you just bring. How do we ensure that personal prejudices, preferences, and whims and caprices align to the overall vision? So that though we may have changed leaders, that we're still towing a certain line. And I always say that there's no country more divisive or divided along party lines than the United States. But one thing is being certain, that they want global dominance, and they go about it from two different perspectives, but that is the ultimate goal.
Right.
Is this a leadership problem again? Because clearly there are two different...
This is an institutional problem.
Okay.
So a starting point is the Constitution. There's too much power being put into one man's hand. Take some of that power, put it in the hands of institutions, and make sure those institutions are what we call ring-fenced from political interferences. This thing where the president still appoints a majority of the institutions that are required to ensure that everybody else is held accountable, I think is counterintuitive, is countervirus, and is also counterproductive in a lot of ways. We are not going to be able to go far with that process still in place, because what you're doing is to say, this institution, we want it to be independent, but the head of that independent crusade is still going to be in the hands of the president. So there's a lot to be done with our institutions.
Absolutely. It's 42 minutes past 1. This is the last episode of the Executive Lounge on radio. And my guest is Mr. Marek Kofi Gan, is the independent presidential candidate going into the elections 2020. Well, at least you've said you're going to run, right?
I've made my announcement, yes.
You made your announcement. You've outlined some of the things that you think require fixing and that you would like to fix. If you're listening to us and want to share your thoughts, please do so. It's 0244340437. That's 0244340437, and that you can use WhatsApp and use Telegram to send a message into the studio. And if you want to give us a call, do so. 0302216541. Message coming in. This is Don Mickey from Ghana. Mr. Addo, kindly elect the true president for Ghana. Show how interested ones like me can reach him. Okay, well, someone's called you the true president of Ghana. We haven't voted yet. But
Don Mickey, thank you for that. You are one of the true citizens.
From the true president to the true citizens.
That's correct. But no, you can reach us on our social media handles. Our team is actually probably on there waiting to take your messages. You can find us on our website, www.ganforghana.com. We've got we're on Twitter as Marek Gan. We're on Facebook as Gan for Ghana. Just Google Marek Kofi Gan, you'll find us.
Okay, so Gan is spelled G-A-N-E, and then I think the number 4 Ghana. So Gan for Ghana, you should be able to find all the handles and the various platforms and be able to reach them and let your voice be heard. So where are we headed, Marek? We've got very little time left, so I need your best. No jabs. I need some real proper hooks. Where are we headed as a people? I mean, quite a number of things have happened, especially in the wake of the registration.
Yeah.
It's not surprising to some people. It's disturbing to others.
Yeah.
But all in all, doesn't seem to inspire the kind of confidence in nation building that
That's
we would
correct.
want.
That's correct.
Where are we headed? How do we make
as
the
things
right,
stand now?
Yeah, how do we make the right course correction?
Nhyira, when I started, I said I had been pretty much to every country in Africa where there's been some conflict. It actually doesn't take much for those conflicts to happen. You just need to push people to the wall. As things stand, unemployment is an issue. Stepping on people's right to exercise their franchise is an issue. The economy not doing well in people's pocket, even though it is doing well on paper, is an issue. No jobs. But if you pull that all together, if we don't pull the brakes and redirect this country, the fundamental thing for me is that a lot of people in Ghana believe now that this country is not working for all of us, it's working for some people. And when you have a situation where equity becomes questionable, then you are setting yourself for a great fall. And that, Nhyira, is something we all need to ponder about. If we don't do anything about leadership in this country, I don't want to say it with my mouth, but it doesn't look good if we continue down this line. The youth are disillusioned. Those who are even in the older ages who have seen Ghana for what it used to be and seeing Ghana for what it is now are also disillusioned. There is only a few people in this country in authority or who have been in authority who feel that this country is working, and it does not paint a good picture. We're not heading in the right direction. We certainly are not heading in the direction that the founders of this country envisaged. That much I can tell you. Okay.
Well, Oseko4 in Tema sends us a message. He's asking for a link. He says, Nhyira, is there a recording of this interview I can find somewhere? I joined late and I'm totally impressed. I'd like to listen to the full interview. Well, Oseko4, you can watch the entire conversation on our Facebook page. If you go to videos, you should find Executive Lounge on the videos segment, and also it's available via the Google podcast as well as Apple's podcast. Marek,
Yes, sir.
You're still hopeful about this country?
I am very hopeful for the very people of this country.
But
not just for me.
But yes, but you're also saying that we're pretty much sitting on a powder keg.
Yes, we are.
And the fuse is a very short one as well. What are you going to do?
I am telling Ghanaians, let's build a country that works for all of us. And it starts by taking on leadership that believes that that is what needs to be done. Not leadership that is overly too drawn into the essence of their parties. And so that's what I'm offering Ghanaians. Like I said earlier, my manifesto is out. It's out there for all Ghanaians to see what we're offering. The trees have a proverb that says, and I feel that that is the starting point. If you want to have a feel of what excitement this country would become like, read our manifesto. That's where we want to take Ghana, to a place where it works for all of us, not just a few.
Now, if the first comment on our Facebook link, I'm going to read it, but before then, let's go back to this post here. Ernest in Adento says, I was quite excited when I first heard Gan speak about his presidential ambitions, but I think he's unfortunately dropped the ball in respect of public engagement and growing the momentum. I will want to meet him. Okay, well, God has sent you some soldiers. Okay, we'll get into your public engagement in a moment. Please ask. Wait. Now we are. Okay. Who will form his? Okay, so Mr. Kofi Gan, Gane. Okay, so it sounds like Kofi Gan. Okay, so
no problem.
Mr. Kofi Gan. Well, you're big and tall, so it's okay. So, Marek, and Douglas in Ablekuma says, who will form part of your government if you win?
There are two answers to that question. There are professionals we've identified, people, not just people who are doing the job, but people who have done some of the things we need them to get done. And let me also put on record that one of the things I intend to do is that even though the Constitution gives me, as a president, the right to calling as many people as possible, we do want a section of that to happen through an independent unit set up to look around this country and over and above this country and find the best people suited for a role. And make some nominations for the president to choose from. There has to be some level of meritocracy in the process. And so even though I could just walk up to people and say, hey, I need you to be this, we need to start showing the path that we need to head towards. That's one. The other angle which I sense from that question is that, yes, of course, we need to choose 50% plus one of our ministers from parliament. But I want to say to the Ghanaian people that people think that is a big issue. It isn't a big issue, because even as an independent candidate, I'm actually at a better advantage than a president that has been chosen from a party. If you choose a president from the NDC, he is going to elect or choose people entirely from the NDC. We know the NDC does not have all the men. If you choose a president that comes from the NPP, he's going to choose entirely all the ministers from the NPP. We know the NPP does not have all the men, and the women, of course. Choosing an independent candidate means that I have the best of both worlds to choose from, the best possible out of both sides of the equation. Plus, I don't intend to have a 120 government. So my dependency on the parliament in terms of choosing is quite minimized. And let me just say that this year you will see a lot of independent aspirants or candidates going for the position of MPs. And so all these actually are in line for us to bring out the best possible this country has to offer.
Interesting. Bell says, thanks for this insightful discussion. The man has spoken my thoughts of recent times. And another one here says, hi, bro. You're doing a great job for Mother Ghana. This is George Phobia from Japong in the Volta region. Interesting comment. Please ask the man in your studio. The man in the studio is Mr. Marik Kofi Gan, whose intention is to become president by an independent ticket in the elections later this year. He says, what does Ghana used to be? And then, okay, so can you draw a comparison today? And I know you started that in the beginning. I think that in the next couple of minutes as we wrap up, I'm going to have you do that comparison again. Another question says, can he walk the walk because talk is cheap? Okay. And Mr. Kofi is welcome, says this one. We're ready for the independent party as both NDC and MPP are not doing us any good. This is okay, so you don't add your names to these messages. You should. And okay, so those are the now to the question or the comment, the first comment on our Facebook feed from Kofi Fred. Says, Nhyira, tell him to join a party that shares in his vision and ideals. So that leads me to my last question. Why have you not joined the party? Because everybody seems to have this refrain that we're not ready for an independent...
why are we not ready?
Well, that's what people are saying. Like Kofi is saying, why aren't you doing... He says, go and join a party.
But the same parties have brought us where we are for the last 27 years.
So are you saying there's no party today that shares in your ideals?
Has any party brought Ghanaians any good sustained benefit? If anybody can answer that question, I will join that party. But there is none. And for me, joining any one of these folks is like endorsing everything they've done to this country for the last 27 plus years. I will not endorse that.
Okay. Emphatic. Now, Cook Silaboni, we're going to end with this. Cook Silaboni says, I had a dream, no NPC, no MP.
No.
That's interesting. Interesting thought. Final question. This is from Gloria in Ashaiman. What have you done in your own small way to help your community that should give us the reason to believe you do the same for the country?
Shall I answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Not just my community. I've done quite a number of things. Anybody who knows me will tell you I have been involved in mentoring a lot of youth in this country. Every single year we've done that until the last 2 years because I've been focused on this. I am a trainer in public financial management. Quite a number of the people who now work in the public service would have actually undergone training outside of this country because they come abroad to go through some of these trainings. That has actually been designed by me, or I would have been the person to train them and put them back into public service. So we've done quite a bit for this country in our own little ways. And I have been involved in managing funds for this country that have come from other governments and other taxpayers. And I'm not talking about small amounts of money. We're talking millions of pounds and millions of dollars. So we don't talk or shout about these things, but we don't need to, because that is our job. This is the thing we've been trained to do, and we do it gladly.
Well, Merrick, this is all time would allow us today.
Thank you.
And
sure.
I'm thankful to you making a third appearance on the show. And I'd like to use this opportunity to also mention a few of the folks who have graced the show over the last 2 years. We have had Mr. David Ofosu-Dotte of ABN David, Yolanda Kuba, former CEO of Vodafone, Lucy Quist has been on the show as well. Senor Hosi was here a couple of weeks ago. We've had the likes of Dr. Oscar Kashala, also an independent. Actually, he started a party in the end in the DRC, hoping to run in the next election. And Abraham Ohenejan of OM Studios, Teki Akweta Falconer, Lexi Bohene has also been on this show. Just a whole host of people. We're thankful, Mr. Maulio Klu, for being on the show. Estelle, Ethel Kofi has been here. I mean, lots and lots of people, and we will be putting out quite a lot of our shows on playback on demand. Just follow me on my social media handles. It's at GH Rainmaker on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I will be putting out quite a lot of the throwbacks of the show for the last 2 years. This is me saying goodbye to you all, and I leave you with one of my very favorite songs. I just feel we should, jam to this today on Founders Day. It's CCTV by King Promise. I'd like to wish you all a happy Founders Day, and whatever you do, do it as you do it unto the Lord, for He is the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. I'm out. Up next is Drive Time, and more on the station later in the day. Catch you on the flip side. Once again, thank you, and God bless you all. Go forward, make rain, shalom. Remember that in that earthen vessel there is some excellence, and that is not of man, it is of